And now, my son Methuselah, I will show you all my visions which I have seen, recounting them before you. 2 visions I saw before I took a wife, and the one was quite unlike the other. The first when I was learning to write, the second before I took your mother, when I saw a terrible vision. And regarding them I prayed to the Lord. I had laid me down in the house of my grandfather Mahalalel, when I saw in a vision how the heaven collapsed and was borne off and fell to the earth. And when it fell to the earth, I saw how the earth was swallowed up in a great abyss, and mountains were suspended on mountains, and hills sank down on hills, and high trees were rent from their stems, and hurled down and sunk in the abyss. And then a word fell into my mouth, and I lifted up my voice to cry aloud, and said, "The earth is destroyed." And my grandfather Mahalalel waked me as I lay near him, and said to me, "Why do you cry so, my son, and why do you make such lamentations?" And I recounted to him the whole vision which I had seen. And he said to me, "A terrible thing have you seen, my son, and of grave moment is your dream. As to the secrets of all the sin of the earth, it must sink into the abyss and be destroyed with a great destruction. And now, my son, arise and make petition to the Lord of glory, since you are a believer, that a remnant may remain on the earth, and that he may not destroy the whole earth. My son, from heaven all this will come upon the earth, and above the earth there will be great destruction." After that I arose and prayed, and implored and besought, and wrote down my prayer for the generations of the world. And I will show everything to you, my son Methuselah. And when I had gone forth below and seen the heaven, and the sun rising in the east, and the moon setting in the west, and a few stars, and the whole earth, and everything as he had known it in the beginning, then I blessed the Lord of judgment, and extolled him, because he had made the sun to go forth from the windows of the east, and he ascended and rose on the face of the heaven, and set out and kept traversing the path shown to him. And I lifted my hands in righteousness, and blessed the Holy and Great One, and spoke with the breath of my mouth, and with the tongue of my flesh, and with the tongue of flesh which God has made for the children of the flesh of men, that they should speak therewith. Blessed be you, O Lord King, great and mighty in your greatness, Lord of the whole creation of the heaven, King of kings and God of the whole world. And your power and kingship and greatness abide forever and ever. And throughout all generations your dominion, and all the heavens are your throne forever. And the whole earth your footstool forever and ever. For you have made and you rule all things, and nothing is too hard for you. Wisdom departs not from the place of your throne, nor turns away from your presence. And you know and see and hear everything, and there is nothing hidden from you. And now the angels of your heavens are guilty of trespass, and upon the flesh of men abide your wrath until the great day of judgment. And now, O God and Lord and great King, I implore and beseech you to fulfill my prayer, to leave me a posterity on earth, and not destroy all the flesh of man, and make the earth without inhabitant, so that there should be an eternal destruction. And now, my Lord, destroy from the earth the flesh which has aroused your wrath, but the flesh of righteousness and uprightness establish as a plant of the eternal seed, and hide not your face from the prayer of your servant, O Lord. And after this I saw another dream, and I will show the whole dream to you, my son. And Enoch lifted up his voice and spoke to his son Methuselah, To you, my son, I will speak. Hear my words. Incline your ear to the dream vision of your father. Before I took your mother Edna, I saw in a vision on my bed, and behold, a bull came forth from the earth, and that bull was white. And after it came forth a heifer, and along with this came forth 2 bulls, one of them black and the other red. And that black bull gored the red one, and pursued him over the earth. And thereupon I could no longer see the red bull. But that black bull grew, and that heifer went with him, and I saw that many oxen proceeded from him, which resembled and followed him. And that cow, the first one, went from the presence of that first bull in order to seek the red one, but found him not, and lamented with a great lamentation over him, and sought him. And I looked till that first bull came to her and quieted her, and from that time onward she cried no more. And after that she bore another white bull, and after him she bore many bulls and black cows. And I saw in my sleep that white bull likewise grow and become a great white bull, and from him proceeded many white bulls, and they resembled him. And they began to beget many white bulls, which resembled them, one following the other, even many. And again I saw with my eyes as I slept, and I saw the heaven above, and behold, a star fell from heaven, and it rose and pastured among those oxen. And after that I saw the large and the black oxen, and behold, they all changed their stalls and pastures and their cattle, and began to live with each other. And again I saw in the vision, and looked toward the heaven. And behold, I saw many stars descend and cast themselves down from heaven to that first star. And they became bulls among those cattle, and pastured with them. And I looked at them and saw, and behold, they all let out their privy members like horses, and began to cover the cows of the oxen. And they all became pregnant, and bare elephants, camels, and donkeys. And all the oxen feared them, and were afraid of them, and began to bite with their teeth, and to devour, and to gore with their horns. And they began moreover to devour those oxen. And behold, all the children of the earth began to tremble and quake before them, and to flee from them. And again I saw how they began to gore each other, and to devour each other, and the earth began to cry aloud. And I raised my eyes again to heaven, and I saw in the vision, and behold, there came forth from heaven beings who were like white men. And 4 went forth from that place, and 3 with them. And those 3 that had last come forth grasped me by my hand, and took me up, away from the generations of the earth, and raised me up to a lofty place, and showed me a tower raised high above the earth, and all the hills were lower. And one said to me, "Remain here till you see everything that befalls those elephants, camels, and donkeys, and the stars and the oxen, and all of them." And I saw one of those four who had come forth first, and he seized that first star which had fallen from heaven, and bound it hand and foot, and cast it into an abyss. Now that abyss was narrow and deep, and horrible and dark. And one of them drew a sword and gave it to those elephants and camels and donkeys. Then they began to smite each other, and the whole earth quaked because of them. And as I was beholding in the vision, one of those four who had come forth stoned them from heaven, and gathered and took all the great stars whose privy members were like those of horses, and bound them all hand and foot, and cast them in an abyss of the earth. And one of those four went to that white bull and instructed him in a secret. Without his being terrified, he was born a bull and became a man, and built for himself a great vessel and dwelt there. And 3 bulls dwelt with him in that vessel, and they were covered. And again I raised my eyes toward heaven and saw a lofty roof, with 7 water torrents there. And those torrents flowed with much water into an enclosure. And behold, fountains were opened on the surface of that great enclosure, and that water began to swell and rise upon the surface. And I saw that enclosure till all its surface was covered with water, and the water, the darkness, and mist increased upon it. And as I looked at the height of that water, the water had risen above the height of the enclosure, and was streaming over the enclosure, and it stood upon the earth. And all the cattle of that enclosure were gathered together until I saw how they sank and were swallowed up and perished in that water. But that vessel floated on the water, while all the oxen and elephants and camels and donkeys sank to the bottom with all the animals, so that I could no longer see them. And they were not able to escape, but perished and sank into the depths. And again I saw in the vision till those water torrents were removed from the high roof, and the chasms of the earth were leveled up, and other abysses were opened. Then the water began to run down into these till the earth became visible. But that vessel settled on the earth, and the darkness retired, and light appeared. But that white bull which had become a man came out of the vessel, and the 3 bulls with him. And one of those 3 was white like that bull, and one of them was red as blood, and one black, and that white bull departed from them.